Hey everyone, welcome to Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by Noah Green. He's the founder of KOAH Digital. How are you today, man?
Hey, Steven, thank you so much for having me. And it's great to be able to speak to you. I can't believe I'm finally on the 365 challenge. This is fantastic.
We have had a few false starts with trying to get you on. I know.
Yeah, I know.
We're here.
But we're here now. It's a beautiful Saturday. The sun is almost shining, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I know. It's that's the main thing. But we've got to do the very British thing, and the storm is coming again on this side.
I know. What name of this storm? I'm not actually not. Dennis something.
I don't know. Whatever.
Always.
You're in a high rise. You're going to be okay.
Well, the worst is because I'm 9 floors up, so then you have to tie down what's on the balcony because things move away. I've got a bike on there, and I don't want to lose that to a storm.
Tie that down. Bring it inside.
Yeah.
I will. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about how you get started, how you founded KOAH Digital. So when did you launch KOAH Digital?
So it's actually really, really interesting one because we only launched on September the 2nd, but we built a lot of exposure. So September the 2nd, 2019, just to confirm to everyone. And we've been planning since February. What had happened was, if we can take it back to how we got to there. I've been always in the tech scene of London and around that, like a bad smell, lingering around the Google campus, desperately trying to help them.
Outside, just looking at people going.
Literally, help me, let me help your app. I don't know what I can do, but let me help. And when I was 15, I was obsessed with Steve Jobs and tech. And on my 13th birthday, I went and bought a MacBook Pro. That's what I did. Ever since then, I've been infatuated by the startups and tech. And at 15, I was reading an article on the New York Times or the New York Post about a lady who had sold her place for, I think it was the iPhone 4, for $1,000 in New York outside a queue. And I'm there like, ding, 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 money signs in my eyes. I can see an opportunity.
Yeah. So
fast forward a year, it's a summer, I'm 16 and it's around September, coming up to the end of my summer holiday, and I'm with my friends. I'm from London, so we're going to Oxford Street and we're walking towards Regent Street, and we see a queue forming outside the flagship store. And I remembered and recalled that story, and I was like, there is no way I'm not staying here for the night. And at worst, I'm having a couple of beers on the street and experiencing a launch. So I pulled one of my friends aside and I was like, look, we've got an opportunity here. We can make some money. We're 16 and we have no money. And we stayed on the street, and as I guess it got throughout the night towards 1 o'clock in the morning, the queue, then they closed off Hanover Square in the street to the right of the flagship store. And then it was around the age of the 4S, and it just got bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, we're like 15th, 16th, and there's 3,000 people. And people aren't laughing at the cardboard sign saying we're going to sell our place anymore. They're taking it seriously. And we held off until around 5, 6 a.m. And we ended up selling our places each for around £600.
Wow.
And that was incredible to have that first taste. But I made some incredible connections that year. I realized that the iPhone back then wasn't being sold online on launch day. You couldn't get pre-orders. The only way was a queue. So I saw other people that were buying iPhones, and you could only get 2 per person. So they were paying other individuals £100 to £200 each, and they were essentially having 15 queue up for them, getting 30 iPhones, and then selling them to countries where the iPhone wouldn't be released for months, because they only released them to a collective of countries at first. So again, the next year kept in contact with those individuals, and I ended up pairing with a store in Kazakhstan and getting, Kazakhstan of all places, emailing back and forth.
Wow.
And they sent me a list of pre-orders saying, these are our clients and they'd like these models, and can you get them? I'm 16, 17, and I'm saying, I have all the friends in the world. I'm in school. I can get all my friends to queue up for me. So I made a spreadsheet. I got my friends involved, and I had around 20 school friends queuing up for me. Wow. And I walked away with around 50 iPhones, and then had to go and meet the chap and give those to him. And the next thing you know, everyone's happy. And that was my first taste of doing something entrepreneurial. And that was it since then.
That was it. That's what. Imagine what life would be like if you didn't read that New York Post article.
I know, but I just couldn't believe something that was it wasn't tangible. It was just crazy to fathom that someone was selling their place. The demand, that's what got me. And it stuck with me, knowing that you could sell the concrete spot on the floor outside Regent Street. So that was great. And then being around that, I actually ended up the year after doing it again and being first. And I kind of hacked the queue. So I'd gone on the Sunday. I knew it was coming out on the Friday. And I pitched a tent, but not any tent. I got a greenhouse, one of those plastic outdoor greenhouses. And I put it outside the front of the store. And then I got all of my friends to just take the first 10 places gradually throughout the week. So we were almost like the Apple Mafia outside the store.
And the store just allowed this. They just let you do it.
So they allowed it. They loved it. We put signs outside. If you Google it, you'll see this. Just me with a greenhouse, like a plastic greenhouse. And inside that, I mapped it out. I put a nice little rail so I could have my laptop. And we started contacting throughout the week Nando's. We tweeted the PR team for Domino's, and slowly but surely we had cans and crates of Red Bull sitting outside this stand, Meat Liquor delivering every night. And we ended up on Fox. And towards the end of the week, this app company called Schnurgle asked if we could wear their t-shirts when we went into the store. I didn't realize the power of what would happen there, but coming out the store with Schnurgle on our t-shirts meant that they appeared in every publication across the world overnight. I guess that was my first taste of realizing you can get such press and such brand awareness through doing something like that. And I guess that stuck with me, and that leads me into where I am today doing social media. And I'm very much about establishing brand awareness and thought leadership for SaaS founders and people within the software industry, and executing their growth through being authentic, because it's not something that comes natural to these people in tech. They don't care about social media. They care about building a product. But I learned throughout my time, and I'll share why in a moment, as to why and how I found out through entering a startup at 7 people, which was absolutely fantastic. I got in early doors at 17. It was, okay, I've done all of these things and I kind of understand social media. I have a knack for sales. I'm buying and selling iPhones, shoes, and anything that's limited. What do I do? And I didn't want to go to a university. So I ended up getting into paddle.com, which was in the fintech SaaS world, an e-commerce platform, essentially overlaying payments and doing the transactions. So when you have software, when you click buy, that was Paddle facilitating that. And I got in. Harrison, their co-founder, brought me in as their first sales hire. And it just took a life of its own from there. And 5 years later brings me up to KOAH, where I realized, and I'll talk about in a moment, throughout my time at Paddle, the narrative is so crucial, as I'm sure you know.
Definitely.
And yeah, that's how KOAH Digital was birthed around a year and a half ago. I was speaking to Kai. So KOAH means Kai and Noah. It required around 30 seconds of our thought to build that.
It works though. It works.
It works.
The simple ideas are normally the best.
Exactly. We're outside, we're in a garden, we have a whiteboard, and we're mapping out everything we need to do for a launch. And one of those things is a launch name. It's the summer last year. So we were planning this launch, and we'd actually registered the business name a while beforehand. So we must have conceived that prior. But yeah, we were like, it's not the name, it's what you make of it. Once you build on your name, that's what people are going to remember. So it doesn't matter what happens. And funnily enough, it means strength in Hebrew. So I guess we'll run with that.
Yeah. Just say that.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna be saying.
Yeah. So how did it feel? Obviously, leaving the startup, and now focusing on your own baby, growing this, nurturing your own project, let's put it. How does that feel? Does that feel any different for you than working for Harrison at the startup?
It was insane because I'd been in a position where I'm only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I understood when going through rounds of investment that, there are times where it's scary and we don't know if we're going to get investment, but you don't see it for yourself. You don't fathom that you won't have a salary and you won't have the ability to know, and it's all on you. That's something which you take for granted. The security of the business is when I was employed, I thought that meant I could have, and I'd be okay as long as I'm smashing it forever. And that's not the case. Coming into the business myself and growing my own baby, needing to ensure that I'm taking the risk of not knowing whether I can do certain things and I'm sacrificing things. I'm seeing a whole nother side to the operational factor of creating a business, because I only saw the outside perspective. And then taking that and then turning that into an idea and actually establishing services and looking at what people need. I'm learning so much. It's been fantastic. I was at Paddle for 5 years and I started in sales, and then fast forward to 3 years in, I was overseeing the sales team from the lead generation team. So the sales team was structured in a way where you have account executives through to, so those are the individuals that would be outreaching and on the phone, but you have people that were generating those leads. So what we do is we look at competitors and then we create lists and then we email. And what I did was I devised how to execute that process, and then I trained that process. But then I realized that it became a series of, I wasn't learning anymore. I was just training. And based on my social media initiatives in my past, realized that they weren't doing this. And then they allowed me to build this playbook and best practices out within their company and they were on isolated islands. So then I almost enabled them to do webinars, do podcasts, and essentially build that network of companies around them. I then realized, fast forwarding into KOAH, that was the key to be able to have a successful launch. So I created my own thought leadership and I built up my own brand awareness prior to the launch date. So I knew that I can't win on SEO. I won't be able to have a sexy website with no money. I can, I'm equating and I'm putting money in the right places. But for me, the website was more affirmation and a business card, if anything. So I wasn't wanting to send people there. I was wanting to send people to my LinkedIn, where I knew I'd be able to win it at a faster rate. So come September the 2nd, when we launched, I ended up signing someone on day 2 because it was affirmation and I built that momentum up over time. So yeah, it's been crazy. I'm going a bit off topic in terms of not answering the whole of your question. But
no, not at all, man. Not at all. This is why I love these conversations, though, because they just lead and go to all these different areas we don't really know, that most people don't know about. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is because it's about having a look into sort of the behind the scenes of your business and those thought processes that's coming in. So when you launched on, September the 2nd, what happened sort of the 3 months after launch? How did the business go? How did you start directing it and start putting yourself in that founder position as before you were sort of an employee, let's put it?
So I joined with a co-founder, Kai, who comes from the world of a completely different world. But I knew that digital marketing is saturated, but I am from the world of SaaS and I'm from tech and they don't get it. And if I can finesse that and stay in that space and educate those individuals, I might be able to get the right type of business and this might work. So month 1, I was positioning my thought leadership, talking about the pains around the challenges people are experiencing around building up their thought leadership and their brand awareness and how they need to be in the right spaces to create touch points in their company's journey. And I talk about that, but personalize it to me. So every day I create a LinkedIn post and it would almost become a series of micro ads. So that would be able to promote me in the earliest days from September the 2nd. Then what I realized was I needed to know what my services were. And I planned that within that summer. So I knew I was ready to go and I had some services. But to be honest, I didn't even know what those services meant to me because it was more so based on my skill. I'd seen what others were doing. And I don't want to BS. So I wasn't going to do paid advertising. I was going to do what I knew and what I could do for a company I'd done before. But that's dangerous, because then you have someone within your company, like my co-founder, who can't pick up some of the skills, like the skills that I had. So you need to ensure that you keep it simple in order to be able to not overpromise, and ensure that you set from day one the right expectations through educating that individual that you work with. So over the first 3 months, we were taking opportunities and looking at people's pains and building services around them to be able to get to the first month, generate revenue, the next month. But we wanted to get to predictable revenue. So there's this book by Aaron Ross, and it talks about predictable revenue that he built at Salesforce, where he built Salesforce up to generating 100 million in predictable revenue every year. And that was insane.
Yeah.
And it might even be every month, to be honest. I need to fact check that. But
give it a reread.
Yeah, but the premise is, I couldn't live month to month not knowing that we'd have a client the next month. So we were doing September the 2nd, we worked with an app company. They had a launch in 3 weeks, but we didn't educate them in the right way. And we ended up losing them a month in due to, they were like, well, why don't we have X amount of followers? Why don't we have this? And we were like, well, that was the wrong reason for doing it, because it's not about the vanity. Then we realized, okay, application that's launched is fantastic. They have drive, they have hunger, but we want someone more established that has the education behind them to understand that a process takes 3 months to build. The momentum. What we're doing is we're creating high quality content and executing and interacting this content on different social channels to be able to access an ideal customer profile. So it doesn't take a week to devise that. But once you build that momentum, it's like a bicycle going up a hill. And then you just go a lot quicker once you've got there to the top of that hill, and you have to just maintain that. So September the 2nd, we went through and we lost that client after a few weeks. We knew what did we need to do next. We continued to post, and we realized we're not going to work with iOS companies and apps. So a SaaS company called SaaSock, an events company, their founder called me up and was like, hey, mate, I've seen you've been posting and you've left Paddle and you've been doing all of these things. We have this event called SaaSock in Dublin, in Ireland, and we don't have social media capacity or the functionality at the moment. Would you be interested in coming with your team and coordinating the social media for this event? And we're there like, yes, this is the opportunity to show that we're not bad and we didn't lose a client because of our skill, but it was just a mismatch. Yeah, so because that's a thing. We knew that you need to build on collateral, and we were just waiting. It doesn't matter whether you have 5 years at a startup, getting to like 200 people from being in the team of 7. It's not affirmation of your skill in your current business. So we needed to prove ourselves. And yes, we could potentially access people through being able to have built an incredible network around myself. But yeah, we needed to show our worth. So we went to Dublin and we were flown out, and we ended up at SaaStock, which is an event of 3,000 SaaS founders. And for
perfect menu.
My perfect menu. So I had the opportunity to go around with a camera, and I could really do whatever I wanted. I had a media pass, and I could go behind the stages. There are 6 stages in this massive venue. And it was incredible because it was SaaS, which meant that everyone's a little bit socially awkward. And that means that everyone's lovely. So no one doesn't and won't approach and won't allow you to approach them. So you can go and speak to an award-winning best-selling author in SaaS who's executed the company, and he will give you the time of day. So I'm there and I'm mixing with some incredible founders, and I'm interviewing them, and I'm coordinating the social media. And I realized that there's a knack for video that they weren't doing. Before, they were tweeting and live tweeting. We at this event have just done a talk with so-and-so, and then we've spoken about this. But I realized, run to the back of the stage, get him on camera holding a selfie and put it on Twitter afterwards. And him saying, I've just come off the stage and I've just done this, talking to the phone. And it gives that personality to the event. So then when people tap into that online, they feel like we're there. And that resulted in getting them trended as the second most trended topic in Dublin throughout that period. So we were like, okay, maybe we can now ride with this and we can say we can actually do something. And that was October. We came back from that and realized that we'd made some connections from that event, some fantastic different connections, and spoken to some different companies. It took on a life of its own. Someone was talking about their event in San Francisco that they host in April. And they were talking about their community aspect, where they have a community on Slack. Now, for those of you that might not know, it's almost like a Facebook group, but it sits within Slack. And Slack is a communication tool where you can create a community and you can segment it via different channels. So they have one with 1,000 different partnership people. So people who are doing deals within SaaS, which is, I just guess, a high intensity version of the tech software world online that sells subscriptions. And they wanted someone to manage their community. So we were like, can we do this? Yes. So then we were like, okay, cool. For 6 months, we're going to work and we're going to establish the community presence. And we're working with these people today. And it's fantastic to have that opportunity.
It sounds like when you launched, you were still in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsive period, in the sense of when people are asking, can you do this? Then you're both going, yeah, we can, let's try it out, rather than going, a lot of people do is obviously have sort of set products, set services, and then putting those out there. But hey, listen, there's no rules, are there? Like, it works.
We needed revenue, so we took what we could, and we knew that
realistic approach.
Can we do this? Can we do this? Well, I've done it at Paddle. I created webinars, and I have a community already. I can do it. It's going to be me doing it, but I can inevitably build up my co-founder, who he comes from the world of fashion, and he built the thought leadership for different models. So he realized in his agency that there was everyone, they wanted to have a presence on Instagram. And then he built up his following. And then they were like, can you show everyone? He was like, what? Well, yeah, for cash. But then realized that that's not going to work. It might work, but he wanted to join forces with me because we saw that the ability of doing it for a company is so much more rewarding. Because when you do it for a company, you can actually see that you can help them build up their presence from their founders through to their channels. And it's more rewarding than putting someone, also putting a Instagrammer and making them wear a suit and then showing them off for a vanity metric isn't what I'm in the game for.
No.
So, I didn't like that. But
from that testing period that you did in terms of your products and your services, did that enable you to now form, that clarity in terms of what you want to do for others and how you want to help them in terms of their business?
Exactly. So almost this, we can call it a testing phase. This phase, we understood the importance of delivering services which are preset. So there's two ways that you can operate from the beginning. You can go and you can build your services around the pains that someone has, and you can tactically win based on that because you know that they don't have time and you can finesse it. Or you can develop services and you can get people to come for those services and build it around that. So at the beginning, we had to build it based on the first iteration, which is those services, and getting people and just building around that, from community management through to going and creating 35 interviews for someone. But now we realized that based on all of this, we've built our own products, and we didn't realize that. The thought leadership, the brand awareness, the authenticity, and accessing the key stakeholders across different channels turned into a skill.
Yeah,
we realized,
huge value skill.
Yeah, we didn't know what that was called up until we hit pause, because we're working with these clients. And in January, we did a review and we hit pause and we were like, we need to review everything for KOAH. And we saw that actually what we were doing was what I said in step one, and what we need to do is step two. So before, we didn't really understand what services we need to have other than skills, based on my skills. So now we've realized that actually what we're doing is we're creating high quality content, and then we're interacting across certain channels, which then we then look at the data and the metrics behind that, and we can see from that there essentially is your ideal customer profile. So what we are looking at, for us, we see, if you look here,
there we go.
We've averaged out everything. So we've looked at every single channel across our social media, and this is the average. And we can see the demographic is in London. They're 20 to 30. And this is essentially amalgamating all of our content over our life of KOAH. We realized that this is going to be the way to move forwards. So we Googled around and, well, you know, you're on your own island, so you think this is unique, but it turns out it's called organic content-led strategies. So
I feel like you could create a much more fun name for it.
We're definitely going to do that.
Yeah, that is like some guy in a PwC suit has come up with it.
Yeah. So someone came up with that. The PwC or the Deloitte Tower is like, that's what this is called for the quarter, for the marketing initiative that we don't quite get. So we realized from that you have to look at a sell. So if you look at the sell and you think about it and you work back from sell you get to leads. And how do you attain leads? Through social media, through brand awareness and thought leadership. Keeping that little formula in mind and knowing that contributes to generating leads. If you can devise the right quality content to be able to establish your brand awareness, which is the amount of growth that you can get through your brand, and then your personal thought leadership tying into the journey and the importance of why you're doing this and showcasing that through all your business, you can generate leads through social media.
Yeah.
We couldn't quite understand how and why, but then we realized that it all starts with an audit. So we did it on ourselves, and we're creating 3 packages out of this. The audit, which is the assessment, the social media assessment. And then after you have all this data, you can determine what approach you need to do. And the way to determine that is through creating a content strategy and a social media strategy. Tying those two together, you then have your approach to handling your brand awareness and creation of thought leadership. And that's what we call the management phase. So there's 3 different steps. So by building ourselves out and looking at how we've attained leads, because we generated through LinkedIn conversations, which has led to clients now. And working back from that, we've realized that it's all from the data. Before, the way that we were handling it was just posting and we were winning. Yes, I'm getting 13,000 views on a post and it's almost a micro ad every single, I'm posting Monday, Wednesday and Friday on LinkedIn because I know there's someone there that I want to access. And I'm creating a series of micro ads basically to be able to do that because I'm talking about my journey, but I'm tying it into my business and I'm talking about what social media means to me and it's resonating with a founder. But I had that kind of hypothesis, but it wasn't tested. So the data and the social media assessment allows you to test whether your current persona is within your channels. And then after that, you devise your strategy and then you manage that. And we're building those processes out now. And those will be our 3 services. And we'll take people in that we want to based on those pains that they're having and educate them on that. And people have already started to respond to that because, well, as you can tell, I'm very talkative and I've already spoken to a few about that, which has been fantastic.
And overall, where do you want to take this? Where can you see KOAH Digital going and morphing into? Because that's what it's all about. It's about what's it going to evolve into. So
I feel like where we'll be taking this is we'll be working with a ton of collectives within the SaaS space, from the founders through to the SaaS companies, and we'll be managing their presence. We've realized that this will enable them to access and generate leads. So we're essentially building lead generation in a new way through utilizing organic approaches on social media. So fast forward to 3 years, I can see us working with a collective of SaaS companies, generating them leads through this approach, through high quality content, whilst raising the profile of their founders and their executives to enable them to have conversations with the right people. Because I've created the Growth Hack, which is, at first it started as a series which I was interviewing people at a SaaS talk at the event in October. I was like, I'm there, I have a camera, and I'm doing it on their behalf, but I'm going to stop them after I've done it on their behalf, and I'm going to be like, we've now got 5 minutes. Can we do 5 minutes with me on camera? So I built a little YouTube channel afterwards when I came back called The Growth Hack. What I didn't realize was that would turn into a Facebook group of 300 marketers and founders in London in the tech world. And I share hacks. Why I call it The Growth Hack is because a growth hack is essentially when you do something for little cost. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to lessen the cost of what it would cost to acquire something through traditional paid means or traditional approaches. So what my point is with the Growth Hack, we've been enabling ourselves to access conversations that we never thought we could. So fast forward to 3 years, I think we'll be able to do the same with these companies, enabling them to access the right clients that they never thought they could through creating content and talking to the right people and having those touch points in their journey. Like for me, I've managed to go to interview people in incredible spaces so far, and I can't believe it. I'm speaking to some fantastic people. I'm speaking to Justin Wu next week, and we're going to go live. It's fantastic because I have the ability to have these conversations that I never knew I could have through building my thought leadership and brand awareness. And
do you ever let yourself step back and actually look at what you've achieved and what you've done?
When you're so involved in it, you don't see anything other than just getting to the next day and wanting to get these services done so we can get them out and we can not really. No, I don't.
So you need to, man. That's what you need to do. You need to celebrate your own wins.
We haven't celebrated the business yet. We were like, we want to get to a place. The reason why we're doing this is we realized that with the services that we had, it's not predictable. You cannot predict revenue because everything is so bespoke in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
Divide social media assessment. Charge say 2.5K for that whole process, the audit, the accommodation, the education, and then the execution. You then know, okay, cool, whatever price that may be, it's set. You can then go, how many times do I need to outreach to be able to get that? How many opportunities, how many phone calls do I need to have to know that? I haven't been able to do that. I've just been outreaching. It's been so frustrating. To get to a place where we can predict that if we bring in 3 other individuals, we know that we can now scale that to that. But we didn't know because nothing was set in stone and it was subjective. So that's what we want to get to. And then once we get to somewhere where we know that we have revenue, which we can start to do calculations on and predict
and predictability.
Scale. And then you can scale it. And then also, you know, that those things that we've just discussed are achievable and it doesn't change. There are no variables. You know that when you need to do an assessment, there is a process and that is the process. And you do it in the KOAH way. When you do the execution on a channel, there's a process. But if you're then working with others and doing not random services, but basing the services on the pains of other individuals, then you have to work out how to manage a community, how to devise and interview 35 marketers in London, how to work out how to best approach them. That's a month of my time out of not being able to come in and do everyday outreaching and then picking up the client work. And then ensuring that the people around me in the company are able to pick that up. So if you keep it simple, you don't shoot yourself in the foot. And we're turning people away now until these services are right, because we're not going to take work just to be able to go down the direction of wanting to have the revenue. It's not worth it. It's worth hitting pause for one moment and then taking on the right work. So that's what we were talking about when we're bringing people to the services as opposed to putting services to the pains of the people.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it a few times. It's about not having that vanity of the numbers. I think that's something, from speaking to you now, that's something I really respect. I think lots of businesses don't have that, in the sense where they want to be able to show off X amount of revenue or X amount of followers, etc., etc. So it's really refreshing to see that you're not about that. You're about getting this ethical relationship with businesses and then sharing that ethical relationship with their clients as well and their customers and teaching them how to do that.
Exactly.
Which is great, dude. So Noah, listen, my last question to you is, what are the 3 tips you can give any founder that can be like a little growth hack for them that they can go off and implement in their business that is going to help them?
Okay, cool. So 3 tips. Be authentic. Authenticity is the key. I made the mistake of not being I was too formal in my typing. Now I am myself.
Concerned.
Yeah, authenticity. Be authentic in the way that you type and the way that you write. Second, find your company's voice. When you're talking, talk in a way that's unique to your company and develop a style and finesse that. And 3, establish your thought leadership and personalize it to why you're doing and why you're on your journey. When you're talking online and you're doing a post on LinkedIn, ensure that you're consistent, but ensure that the way you post is authentic and isn't an advert. And don't do ads like that. Just talk about you, talk about your journey. People will come to you. So authenticity, find your voice, and then ensure that you don't sound like an ad. Just develop your thought leadership.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I love about you. It's like, keep it simple because simplicity works.
Yeah, and just consistently. That's the key.
Yeah.
Like you, every single day. If you can post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe even 5 times a week, just keep at it and then keep conversing. Social media is a 2-way discussion. It's all about the relationships that you build, and that will get people invested in you and your journey. And then they'll go to your company page, but they don't care about you and your company page when they just see a logo. They want to see you as a person. So show that.
100%. Don't fear being yourself online, people. That's what most I see it all the time. No, listen, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, speak to you, just connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
For me, I'd say the best way to do that is connect with me on my LinkedIn. It is my go-to space, and it's where I have discussions all the time. So I'll put a link when you put this out, and I'll send this to you so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and you'll see every Wednesday I have conversations with different founders as well. And if you want to join my group as well, feel free. I'm sure I'll put a little plug there. The Growth Hack. You can have a little Facebook stalk and you'll find it. Get involved.
I'm all about the plug. Plug.
Awesome.
No, listen, thank you so much for being a guest on Founders365. I've really appreciated our conversation and value your knowledge so much. And I'm sure everyone else does as well.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening, for watching. This has been Founders365. We're here every day in 2020.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.